And the story of the mighty sugarcane includes actually three components. The first one speaks about the framework, the benefit driver, selecting the right structure, program governance. Then we're going to talk about the sugarcane in detail. And finally, we're going to revisit this framework and see how it can be replicable, not only for the agribusiness, but for any other sustainability objective or program. So when we look at the definition of sustainability, some words can pop up like resources not depleted, or sustainable agriculture, or even a sustainable society. So this is what we're gonna focus on today, how to help achieve this social sustainability. And this case study is a real case study that took place over a period of 20 years in Africa in collaboration with Kinana Sugar Company. So, when we talk about benefits, what comes to our mind first? Okay? All societies look for employment, food security, fresh water, thanks to our friend, power, transportation, education, health, and capacity building. And if we have all of these, or components of these, we can actually work on rural development and enhance our economic situation and hopefully achieve happiness. Okay? Happiness is a word that has become famous thanks to our friends in UAE. So, this is the objective. And when it comes to sustainability, it's all about the people. It's all about the community. And I'm gonna tell you the story of each one of these in a while, when we start talking about the sugar case. So, to start with, if we want to establish a framework for sustainability, we need to select a structure, a framework. And to look at this, when we look at frameworks, we think of what is our objective? Are we directing or controlling? You know, in portfolio management, you select and you direct. And in project management, what do? You control. Also, there's another dimension. Are we looking for transforming the organization from one state to the other? Or are we looking for sustainability? And the third dimension is whether or not what we will do is temporary or permanent. And to start with, a strategic management office provides direction, selection of the various projects and investments, but it does not deliver by their own hands. They deliver through projects, but they provide the direction. Similarly, a term that became very famous in Saudi Arabia, which is called the Vision Realization Office. It's a strategic office with some transformation objectives. Then there is a program management office to manage transformation of the organization from one state to the other state. But each one of these, they do not actually do the work. They do the selection, the strategy, okay, and leverage the infrastructure for change. What actually helps us manage different projects and programs successfully is the typical PMO, or the Corporate Project Management Office, which supervises multiple projects. But is this where we do the work? No, this is where we manage. And for every project, we need a project management control office, especially mega projects. So what we will find out, we might have a strategic office or a corporate office with lots of control offices for every project. We're talking here about organizational project management, or how to infiltrate project management as a discipline within the organization from top to bottom. But this is not the end of the story, because when we get to working on mega projects with what's called PMC, they understand the technical terms. But project management offices also speak to top management and provide visibility. So we have to integrate between PMCs and PMOs. Then the sixth concept is the departmental PMO, or a center of excellence for sustainability, for enhancing quality, okay, to do things over and over again, repetitively, in a professional manner with high quality. Afterwards, there's this transformation office, which is used for a public-private partnership, okay? It focuses on achieving specific objective, transforming or building a new organization. This is what we're gonna speak about. The last three are very innovative. The Capacity Development Office, which is quite handy for objectives like localization. The Knowledge Management Office, which is a new initiative we're working together on with Knowledge Management Institute. And finally, the Business Development and the Innovation Management Office. So after this brief introduction about the types of structures, what do we select? Within our strategy, they decide to establish a new program. And for that, within a public-private partnership, they decide to embark into setting up this program management office to manage multiple projects. So we're focusing on these two. And in order to achieve this sustainable benefit thing, we start by setting up the office. And to set it up, the first thing we think of within any mega program or project is the investment. And the investment came on this specific project from the Gulf and Africa within a joint venture. And they decided to set up multiple projects. Projects in the agri-industry, projects that are social and professional, civil and process utilities. I'm gonna show you each one of these in a while. And after these projects are concluded, we have their deliverables, we establish operations. And these operations are in the form of plants, utilities, even houses and schools. And once we have these operational utilities functioning, we can achieve our outcomes. And once these outcomes are there, maybe they can lead to the ultimate benefits we're looking for. So this is the roadmap for setting up this program management office. And these people, they decide to establish the program management office. Now, to establish a program management office, we always have initiation, development, then operations. There are two things that are important here. You never wait on to start operations until you finish all the development. People will not wait. Investment will not wait. You have to start operations as soon as possible. So what do? In initiation, we conduct an assessment. We understand the gap. We have our roadmap. In development, we work on developing the governance, the management framework, then work on the processes, the tools, and the training of the people or capacity building. For how long do we do this? We do this all the time. Because you do not achieve excellence from the first iteration, just like Agile. You have to do it over and over again. And the best feedback comes to you once you start operations. You learn what's working and what is not working. So you continuously work on the organizational development thing. Now, having set up our office, they decide to start with this program. And to start with the sugar program, okay, I'm gonna tell you why sugar and why. You have to have 4 factors. You have to have land, water, investment, and a framework, a management framework. We just spoke about the management framework, and these people meet and decide within, once they conduct the feasibility, they found a piece of land and lots of water because it's next to the Nile, and they get the capital, which is actually a joint venture between Africa, the Gulf, even Japan, and the management framework all set up. Let us start. And the first thing you do, what are the projects you are going to work on? Lots of projects. But the important thing is to look at types of projects. When we are talking about sustainability, it's not merely building a sugar factory. It's about a whole setup. It's about setting up a whole society in a piece of land where there's nothing. We call this what? Greenfield project. Greenfield meaning you start from just a piece of land and you set up everything. So we have to have social projects, professional projects. We have to have civil works infrastructure projects. We need to have, of course, food agriculture project, okay, where the sugar comes from, and lots of utilities. Some of them are water, power, and whatnot. Now, how did these things occur? To start with, on that piece of land, there were some tribes. And these tribes have been there. They don't have an ownership of the land, okay? But they've been inhabiting this land for thousands of years. You cannot just kick them out. You need to find some sort of social settlement. Allow them to go temporarily to other locations with promises that you will involve them in this community once it starts. So you look for a win-win deal for everybody. And after we do the relocation, the second project, because you see the relocation is a sub-program. Lots of land, you cut it into pieces and you solve each one. And the ones you acquire, you start your work on while doing more work on relocation of other tribes. Then the land preparation project, okay? You see we have the rocks, we have not fit for agriculture, and we start our works and we prepare the land to be ready for the agriculture projects. But since we're talking about a huge piece of land, transportation is very important and very vital. We need to be able to reach one place to the other. We're speaking about 2,500 square kilometers, okay, for one sugar farm. So they started with the infrastructure works, okay? When they started, or I talk about a type of project, it's not just they did the project and it's over, okay? This is like a category, and they do works on transportation all the time based on the need. So it's much more complex than what I'm presenting now. Then, if you want to plan 2,500 square kilometers, the first important thing is the seed. Where do I get the seeds from? Let's plant them. So the first thing we do is a seed farm project to generate specific seed that provides a better yield. Rather than have one crop per year, maybe with a special type of seed, we can have 2 crops. What does this do to your feasibility? Times 2, much more efficiency. So you start here and you do your research and you start to plant the seeds. Now we have seeds. And after we have the seeds, what do we need? We need the water. We have the water in the Nile, but we need to move the water. So you start with irrigation projects, okay, to move this water to all this vast land. Now we have water and we have seeds, okay? But the water can be used for agriculture, but not for industry, not for home use, and definitely not for drinking. This is why they have a water treatment facility. And from this water treatment facility, now we have drinking water, usable water. So, we have water and we have seeds, we can start to plant. Once we start to plant, what do we have? Crops. The sugar cane. Okay? Now we have the sugar cane. What do we do with the sugar cane? You take the crops, you build a sugar plant. Now this sugar plant is one of the most expensive and complex components within this program, which is more or less a portfolio of projects and sub-programs. And before going green, I don't know if any of you saw a video about how they burn a field. Why do they burn the field? So that this green fibers, they get rid of them. But once they decided to go green, they had a more sophisticated sugar plant that can extract these green leaves and make them as a product. And out of the sugar plant, we have three things. The first thing is the molasses. The molasses is the syrup that comes out of the sugar cane. And as it is a commodity. It's part of used a lot in the food industry. But this is not the white sugar that we know. Then they have these green leaves and they have the fibers. Where do the fibers come from? Out of the sugar cane that we extracted molasses, the residuals are these fibers. So we have these three. Do we lose anything? No, we're talking about green, we're talking about sustainability, okay? The lower carbon print. And what do we do with each one of them? First of all, the molasses. We have a sugar refinery. And this is also a very complex project. It's similar to oil and gas, little bit less complex, but it is a refinery. And this refinery accepts molasses and provides what? The white sugar. We know white sugar is a commodity. There is always more need for that. It's part of the food security of any country. And we start to sell this white sugar. But what do we do with the other components? These green leaves, instead of throwing them away with some processing, less complex than the ones before, we generate what? Animal feed. And once you have this animal feed, huge amounts of animal feed, okay, you can start to raise cattle. We can do lots of farming projects. And they started with 100 cows and they ended up with 2,000 cows. Now the 100 cows, they generate milk. And maybe the community can drink this milk, fresh milk, every day. But who drinks milk from 2,000 cows every day? This is too much. You know, Cleopatra used to have bath in the milk, but she's dead a long time before. So they do dairy products, milk, okay, and vegetables and whatnot, everything you can think of in terms of agriculture and farming. Now what do they do with the milk? Okay? Instead of throwing it away, okay, or showering with it, let's do a powder milk factory. And we turn the milk into powder milk. And powder milk has a long lifetime, okay? You can sell it, you can keep it for a year, transport it to other locations. Each one of these products makes what? Income, revenue. Each one of these products requires lots of people to manage, lots of labor. We're building our community, our social sustainability. Again, the story is not over yet. We have the fibers. What do we do with the fibers? Throw them away? No. We need energy. And to get energy, why not revert to have a fermentation process, generate biofuel, and have ethanol out of these fibers. Now the ethanol is part of this biofuel. Now we have fuel. And as you've seen, each one of these huge plants, they all require electricity to turn them on. Instead of buying huge amounts of electricity, now we have the fuel. Why don't we set up our own power plant and produce our own energy that will be used within each one of the other plants? And now we have light. But to have energy nearly, you also need to transport the energy, which means you need power transmission projects, okay? Is it like we're building a small country? Perhaps. So we have transmission projects to move, to transport this power from one location to the other. And afterwards, within these projects, we use lots of equipment. They started by buying all the equipment, but then they found out that building a facility to manufacture some of the less complex equipment that we use a lot is highly beneficial. Why buy them when you can make them internally for less money? And each project brings on what? More jobs, right, for the people, and more revenue, more products, more income. So we're talking about self-sustainability. And of course, within these projects, there are lots of people. Remember the tribes that we moved outside and we brought some good caliber, we trained people, they need housing. And when you need housing, you need shops. And then when you have a community, you need a hospital, you need a school, you need to have an organization to manage all this. And ultimately, you need also an airport. In fact, by the end of these 20 years, they have 3 hospitals, 5 schools, and a mini airport. Okay. Now, of course, housing facilities. So this girl, her name is Kuzbara, and she's standing with her father, and he wants to marry her, so the father asks for a house. So he gets a loan from the program itself, because there are many loans, and the construction projects, and he buys the house, they marry, and now the outcome, they get a baby. Okay? So you have a community built in a place which was like a semi-desert. And of course, you build the hospital where they give birth to the baby and do all the medication. And then, when he grows, he needs to go to school, to schooling, okay? This is why they built like 5 schools. And when you talk about schooling, this is an education program. It's setting up everything, not only the building, the curricula, the teachers, and whatnot. Same for the hospital. And they built a small airport to facilitate transformation. They built the company to manage all the operations and the facilities that were set up. And finally, once we have all the infrastructure and we have families, we need to have some leisure and some fun, okay? Some place to do picnics and whatnot. Now, what started with a vast land became a community, a small city of 100,000, self-supporting, producing everything they need for them, and for hundreds of thousands more outside. So we achieved social sustainability. The electricity, the power, the fuel, the water, the food, the powder milk, the sugar, the cows, the meat, okay? Having the services, the leisure, the medication, the education, transportation, and an organization to host all the management of all these things. And this is an example, a live, real example of social sustainability. Self-supporting community that does not need anything from the outside. On the contrary, they produce thousands of tons of sugar and they export them. They are money makers. And from the economic aspect, they bring in foreign currency because they export sugar, they export molasses, fuel, powder milk, and meat. And to the local community, instead of buying electricity from the government, they sell electricity to the national grid because they produce much more than what they consume. They sell dairy products, they sell products for farming, vegetables, and also seeds for other sugar plants. So altogether, this produces what? The huge organizational sustainability. Each one of these projects, which turn into operations, helps and depends and relies on the other. Okay? We need the water, but water needs electricity, and electricity needs the fuel, and the fuel needs the production of the fuel, which needs it, and so on. So they are like highly integrated and highly dependable in a very much sustained manner. Now, to end things up, how can this be a replicable framework? This is the important question. We always focus on the people and people's needs. This is where any thinking of sustainability should originate, come from, and serve. This is our North Star, our needle, our objective. We set up the framework, the governance framework. We select how to establish the office, the program management office. We set it up, we select our projects, and we go on. Now, imagine with me whether or not we can do this for something other than the agribusiness. Because in this program, my friends, we tapped on almost every industry. So the same framework, I can claim, I'm convinced about this, that we can reuse it in multiple other purposes. Of course, with adjustments. There's no copycat here. And I still have 2 minutes. By this, I would like to end. Maybe I can have a couple of questions because I have 2 more minutes. So anything that you can think of, I'd love to answer. By the way, the cartoons we have, each one has a name. There's Fahid, Kuzbara, Mariam, Sam, and Bakram. Yeah.
All of these projects were planned originally or in progress of the...
Okay, very good question. Actually, we did not start 20 years back with these people. They had some of the projects on, and we were brought on to develop a framework that is replicable, okay, that can be utilized, because they did multiple programs like this one. So in the beginning, although I listed the 23 projects within the different types, for example, the powder milk, they never thought about it. They never thought about the milk in the first place, okay? But to resolve the thing of green, so as not to burn the field, they have all these fibers. What do we do with them? Okay? Let's do animal feed, which requires some factory. Once they have the animal feed, and you have the water and the land, what do? Bring the animals. And the animals start to make milk. Once they have the milk, what do we do with the milk? Okay, we can't drink it all. Let's do a powder milk. Okay? So it was over what we call at NI progressive elaboration. Okay? Lots of innovation, lots of thinking. How can we serve the community based on the different byproducts within these different projects and programs? Okay? Yes? Okay.
So I'll just say a huge round of applause for Dr.
Thank you.